Good morning. Welcome to the East Bank Regional Library Virtual Storytime. My name is Miss Marianne, and today we're going to have a letter of the alphabet and a story time for you and a craft that's on a link on the web page that you can do on your own. Okay, let's start with our opening song. Good morning, how are you? How are you? How are you? Good morning, how are you? How are you today? Buenos días, ¿cómo está? ¿Cómo está? ¿Cómo está? Buenos días, ¿cómo está? ¿Cómo está? Bonjour, comment allez-vous? Comment allez-vous? Comment allez-vous? Bonjour, comment allez-vous? Comment allez-vous? Very good. That's good morning in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and French. And now let's start. Let's see what our letter for today is. Our letter for today is the letter P. To make a P, you make one long line like this, up and down, and then one great big round tummy at the very top of the letter. The letter P says P, P. Let's look at some things that start with the letter P. I put a lot of food on our poster here. Pizza, peanut butter sandwich, popcorn, potato, peanuts, also pink, or even pig. Pig starts with the letter P. Now let's look at our story today. Our story starts with the letter P. Here's the story for today. Pop, pop. It starts with a P and it ends with a P. And it ends with an exclamation point. So you say pop, pop. And you know, firecrackers say pop, popcorn says pop, and even bubblegum can sometimes say pop. But in this story, we're going to have Bubbles saying pop. I didn't know bubbles made noise. Let's try it. And these bubbles, we're going to blow them in the air, and let's listen and see if they make any noise. I don't hear a sound. I didn't hear anything, did you? Let's try it one more time. They're quiet. These bubbles are quiet. They're quiet like the falling snow. They don't make noise, but the pop is when the bubbles go away. So the title of the story again is Pop. It's a book about bubbles.
Today's book is Pop, a book about bubbles. Written by Kimberly Bradley, illustrated by Margaret Miller. This book is used with permission from its publisher, HarperCollins.
This is a read and find out about science book. We have several read and find out about science books that I'll show you after the story time. I love science. We're going to find out in this story, what are bubbles made of? Why are they always round? Let's begin. Here's some bubbles floating in the air, up, 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 and then they pop. Pop, a book about bubbles by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. Pop, a book about bubbles. Dip the plastic wand into the soap solution. Hold it up to your mouth. Now blow. You've made a bubble. Watch it float up higher and higher. The bubble shimmers in the sun. Up it goes and then pop, it disappears. You can blow small bubbles or big ones. You could blow one bubble or hundreds of bubbles. You can't blow square bubbles or flat bubbles. All bubbles are round. Bubbles are air trapped inside of liquid. The liquid you put your bubbles wand into is made of water and soap. Sometimes it has a little corn syrup too. It is sticky. It sticks to the floor if you spill it. It sticks to your fingers when you touch it. It sticks and it stretches and it stretches. It stretches across the round hole on the end of the bubble wand. When you blow into the wand, you make air move. If you blow slowly, You can see how the air makes the soap on the wand start to stretch. As you blow harder, the soap stretches and stretches until it can't stretch anymore. Finally, it snaps free. The soap shuts around the air inside it. There it is, a bubble. You don't have to blow to make a bubble. If you hold your bubble wand up to the wind will blow the bubbles for you. You can also make bubbles by holding the wand up and running. Anything that moves air can move a bubble. If a bubble touches something like your hand or another bubble, it may have a flat side, or the wind may push a bubble and change its shape. But when a bubble is quietly floating in the air by itself, it is always round. The air inside the bubble pushes out against the soap skin. It doesn't push harder in one place than in another. It pushes evenly in every direction. This makes the bubble round. The soap skin holds the air inside. It pushes back against the air. If your hands are dry and you touch bubbles, they pop. Anything that pokes them makes a hole in the soap skin. Whoosh! The air inside rushes out. Even if you don't touch bubbles, they still pop. They dry out. Their soap skins shrink. Soon they can't hold all the air inside them and pop. There are other kinds of bubbles too. The next time you drink soda, look carefully at the bottom of the glass. You will see tiny bubbles forming. You can watch them get bigger and bigger. Finally, they get so big that they start to float up through the soda, higher and higher, and then pop. You can also make bubbles with a straw. Put one end of the straw in a glass of water and blow. Bubbles float up through the liquid and pop. Water and juice aren't sticky like soap solution, so the bubbles pop right away. Milk is stickier than water. If you blow bubbles with a straw in a glass of milk, they will stay at the top of the glass for a while. They won't float in the air like soap bubbles. The milk isn't sticky enough for that. But milk bubbles look like soap bubbles. Wherever they aren't touching the glass or each other, they will be round. You can make tiny, tiny bubbles. You can make bubbles big enough to step inside. You can blow one bubble or a whole stream of bubbles. But you can't make square bubbles. And bubbles are always round. Now, that concludes our story, but at the end of this book, there are all kinds of ideas. On this page, it says, find out more about bubbles, an easy way to make bubble solution. You will need a bowl, corn syrup, and water. Also online, I'll post an easier way to make it, which is water and sugar and soap. It may be easier if you don't have corn syrup. And then, on this page, there are 2 bubble experiments that I think you'll like. Bubble experiments. On this bubble experiment, we will find out, are bubbles always round? And then in this experiment, we'll find out, how slow can you blow? And that concludes our story, but wait, there's more I want to show you. Again, this is in the Let's Read and Find Out About Science books. I love science. On the back here, there are some Let's Read and Find Out About Science books. And then I'll show you some more. Oh, there are scientists called archaeologists that dig in the ground and find out clues of who used to live here and what did they do. The title of this Read and Find Out About Science book is Archaeologists Dig for Clues. Here's read and find out about science book called Ant Cities. Here's a read and find out about science book called A Tree is a Plant. Here's a read and find out about science book called Dinosaur Tracks. Here's a read and find out about science book called Flood Warning. Here's a read and find out about science book called What Happens to Our Trash. Here's a read and find out about science book called Hurricane Watch. Here's a read and find out about science book called A Drop of Blood. Here's a read and find out about science book called The Moon Always Seems to Change. Here's a read and find out about science book called Gravity is a Mystery. Here's a read and find out about science book called Sounds All Around. Oh, I love sounds. They're fun to explore. Now, let's do a little bubble rhyme. It goes to the song of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Are you ready? Bubbles floating all around, bubbles fat and bubbles round, bubbles on my nose and toes, blow a bubble, up it goes, bubbles floating all around, bubbles falling to the ground. Very good. I hope you enjoyed that. Now, don't forget that on our website and our Facebook page, we'll have a link for an easy-to-make bubble solution as well as a bubble art that you can make with food coloring, because you might not have paint at home. It's just food coloring and water and, of course, bubbles. I think you'll like it. And so, I thank you for joining our virtual story time today. We're going to end with our closing song. Thanks for sitting, thanks for listening, thanks for coming here today. Now that story time is over, hope you have a lovely day. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.